You think you're being respectful. You think waiting, being patient, asking her softly shows how much you care. But here's the brutal truth. Every time you hesitate, every time you ask for permission, you kill a part of her desire. Because female attraction doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in tension, in mystery, in the presence of a man who moves with silent confidence. And if you're not that man, if you keep asking, is this okay? Can I? When will you be ready? You're slowly turning yourself into her little brother. In this video, I'm breaking down 6 unspoken triggers that make a woman crave intimacy, not because you asked, but because you awakened it. Miss this, and you'll keep getting praised for being nice while she gives her body to someone else. Before we dive into the 6 unspoken triggers that silently ignite a woman's desire, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button if you're serious about mastering this part of your life. Like the video if you've ever felt stuck in that confusing, she likes me, but not like that zone. Let me know what city you're watching from. I read every comment, and it shows me just how many men are waking up to this truth. Now, let's get back to the story, because what you're about to hear flips the entire dating script upside down. 1, she doesn't want intimacy with weak men. You think she's rejecting intimacy, but what she's actually rejecting is you. Not your looks, not your job, not your jokes. She's rejecting the energy you carry when you try to get close to her. Here's the truth that most men never want to hear. A woman doesn't say no because she's not ready. She says no because your presence doesn't stir anything in her. You're being polite. You're being nice. You're trying to make her comfortable. But comfort doesn't turn her on. It earns her trust, maybe even her respect, but not her desire. Because a woman isn't drawn to a man who makes her feel safe in a platonic way. She's drawn to a man who makes her feel something. And here's where 95% of guys fall apart. They confuse politeness with masculine presence. They think that being good, patient, agreeable, and endlessly understanding will eventually get them in her bed. But what they don't realize is this. Every time you walk on eggshells, suppress your own desire, or wait for her to make the first move, you're sending one message loud and clear. I don't believe I deserve this. And if you don't believe you deserve it, why should she? A woman's body is wired to respond to masculine clarity, to intention, to presence. She's not fantasizing about the guy who asks, is it okay if I kiss you now? She's fantasizing about the man who makes her feel before he even touches her. That kind of man doesn't plead. He doesn't apologize for wanting her. He owns it silently, confidently, and without shame. But let me be brutally clear. You can't fake this. You can't memorize lines or mimic some alpha male routine you saw online. If your energy is built on anxiety, shame, or neediness, she will feel it. No matter how smooth your delivery is, because women don't respond to your words, they respond to your truth. And if your truth is weak, fearful, or desperate for approval, she'll feel it in your posture, your eyes, your hesitation. She might smile. She might even text you back. But deep down, she's already filed you away under. Nice guy, but not exciting. You know this story already, don't you? You take her out. You pay. You compliment her. You don't push anything. You think, I'm doing everything right. But every time you try to get close, she says, let's take it slow. Or worse, she disappears. And the next week, she's dating some guy who didn't pay for dinner, didn't ask permission, but made her feel something. Does that sting? Good. It's supposed to, because this is the moment most men either wake up or keep repeating the cycle. She doesn't want intimacy with weak men, not because she's cruel, but because weakness doesn't activate her instincts. She wants to feel the heat of your presence, the kind of energy that says, I want you, but I don't need you. And the second you embody that truth, everything changes. 2. Stop asking permission, lead or lose. Every time you ask a woman, can I? You're not being respectful. You're being unsure, and uncertainty is the fastest way to kill female desire. Let's break this down. You're with her. The vibe is good. You're both laughing. There's tension in the air. She's leaning in. And then you ruin the moment by asking, can I kiss you? Is this okay? Do you want to sleep over? What she hears isn't permission. What she feels is hesitation. And once that tension breaks, the one thing that was pulling her towards you is gone. Because women don't get turned on by step-by-step instructions. They get turned on by energy, by presence, by a man who moves, not waits. Now, let's be clear. This is not about being pushy, forceful, or disrespectful. This is about leadership, masculine leadership. It's about being so in tune with the moment, so rooted in your desire that your presence says everything without needing a single word. Women don't want to guide you. They want to feel guided by you. And if you make her do the emotional heavy lifting, if you're constantly checking in like a boy seeking approval, she loses interest fast. Here's what no one teaches men today. Attraction is reactive. She doesn't decide to feel desire logically. She reacts to what you project. If you project calm confidence, she leans in. If you project doubt, she backs off. If you overthink every move, she goes cold. And guess what? Most of the time, she was ready. She was waiting. She had already decided. But you made her question it by questioning yourself. That's why emotional grounding is non-negotiable. A grounded man doesn't wait for permission. He reads the moment. He trusts his read. And if he moves and she says no, he respects it, but doesn't collapse. Because rejection doesn't shake a man who's in control. It gives him clarity. Let's play out the difference. Scenario 1. You're at her place. She's close. She's giving every signal. You lean in and ask, "Is it okay if I kiss you?" She pauses, smiles, says, "Maybe not yet." Boom! Moment gone. Scenario 2. Same setting, same closeness, but you say nothing. You maintain eye contact. You lean in with presence, not pressure. You don't ask, you lead, and she follows. The difference? In one, you doubted yourself. In the other, you trusted your energy. And that energy is everything. A woman is not waiting for the right words. She's waiting for a man who can feel the moment and own it. Because the man who doesn't need permission, the one who moves without fear, who reads her and leads with calm certainty, that's the man she remembers. That's the man she wants again. So stop asking for permission like a nervous teenager. Stop seeking safety in her. Yes. Lead or lose. 3. Female desire is silent, not logical. She said she wasn't ready, but then she hooked up with someone else a week later. Sound familiar? You did everything by the book. You listened. You waited. You were respectful, patient, emotionally available, and in return, she gave you silence or worse, her body to someone else. Why? Because you were listening to her words, not reading her desire. Let's make something clear. Female desire does not follow logic. It follows emotion. It follows sensation. It follows energy. She might say she wants a good man, stable, attentive, sensitive, but she feels desire for the one who gives her tension, the one who challenges her comfort zone, the one who doesn't explain himself, but makes her feel something in her body, not her head. And if you haven't understood this by now, let me spell it out. A woman doesn't sleep with a man because he's good on paper. She sleeps with the man who moves her internally. You could have a checklist of everything she claims to want, but if she doesn't feel that spark, you're just a friend. That's why nice guys lose. Not because they're wrong, but because they think logic will earn them love. That if they behave correctly, if they wait long enough, if they tick enough boxes, desire will appear like magic. It won't, because female desire is irrational. It's primal, it's wordless, and it's brutal. She could look you in the eye and say, "I really like you. You're such a great guy," while her body is pulling her towards someone who says nothing, but carries power in his silence. And you'll sit there confused, thinking, "But she told me she wasn't ready." No, brother, she just wasn't ready for you. Not because you're bad, but because you didn't activate anything in her. And this is the part that hurts, but sets you free. You don't need to understand her logic. You need to understand her desire mechanics. Because once you stop chasing her approval, once you stop taking her words as a roadmap, once you stop explaining yourself and start embodying your power, everything changes. She starts to lean in. She starts to feel pulled. She starts to get nervous around you in the best way. Why? Because now you've stepped out of logic and into magnetism, the kind of energy she can't argue with, the kind of presence that makes her question her own comfort, the kind of silence that screams louder than words. So stop listening for verbal consent to lead. Stop interpreting her niceness as attraction. Start reading her energy. And most importantly, start projecting a presence so grounded, so undeniable, that she feels it before you say a word. Because that's how desire works. It's not earned. It's awakened. 4. Your masculine energy speaks louder than words. You think it's about what you say, the right words, the smooth delivery, the respectful tone. But let me tell you a secret that most men never hear. She already felt you before you spoke. Your mouth talks, but your body screams. And if what you say doesn't match what you radiate, she shuts down instantly. You say you're confident, but your eyes avoid hers. You say you're grounded, but your shoulders are tense. You say you're masculine, but your entire energy is screaming, please like me. And women feel that. They might not articulate it, but they absolutely feel it. Because female desire doesn't respond to rehearsed lines. It responds to a man's masculine frequency, the raw, unfiltered energy that either awakens her instinct or puts her to sleep. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most modern men have buried their masculine energy. They've been told it's dangerous, that it makes women uncomfortable, that it needs to be hidden, restrained, tamed. So what do? They suppress it. They replace desire with politeness. They perform emotional correctness, hoping it'll be enough. And then they wonder why nothing clicks. Why they're always the sweet guy. Why she says, I feel safe with you, but never aroused. Brother, she's not turned off by your desire. She's turned off by your fear of it. Because here's what you haven't been told. Women don't fear a man who desires them. They fear a man who's ruled by that desire, who chases, who begs, who collapses the second she pulls away. But when you can feel desire without being desperate for her response, when you can stay in your masculine fire without losing composure, you become magnetic. She feels it in your presence, not because you said anything explicit, but because you radiate something she can't ignore. A silent charge, a low-frequency tension that lingers in the air. The sense that this man is fully in control of himself. And if she chooses to step into that energy, it's going to be unforgettable. That's not aggression. That's not dominance. That's mastery. Your masculine energy is not a problem. It's your power source, but only if you know how to direct it. And that means stop pretending you don't feel desire. Stop hiding it behind over-talking or safe body language. Stop asking her to validate what you should already own. Instead, make eye contact without flinching. Speak slowly like you're not in a rush to prove anything. Stand in silence and let her feel the weight of your presence. You don't have to tell her what you want. She already knows. And if you've done the inner work, if you're no longer needy, no longer ashamed of your masculinity, she'll start feeling things she hasn't felt in a long time. Not because of your words, but because of your energy. 5. The man who doesn't react excites her. You think showing emotion makes you more attractive, more real, more authentic. But here's the cold truth. Every time you overreact to her behavior, you lose ground, you lose presence, and you lose her desire because what turns her on isn't your emotion. It's your emotional control. Let's play this out. She doesn't text back right away. You panic. She posts a story with another guy. You spiral. She acts cold, distant, confusing. You chase harder, trying to fix it. You think you're being attentive. You think you're fighting for the connection, but from her perspective, you're losing your edge. You've just shown her that you revolve around her emotional weather. And that's not masculine. That's not attractive. That's reactive. A woman can only feel safe and turned on around a man who's grounded, unshakable, not easily manipulated by silence, mixed signals, or subtle games. Because whether she admits it or not, every woman tests a man consciously or not. Not to hurt him, but to feel his depth, to see if he's really rooted in who he says he is. And every time you react, you fail the test. React with jealousy, you look insecure. React with overpleasing, you look weak. React with anger, you look unstable. But when you respond from calm, or better yet, don't respond at all, you flip the power dynamic because now you're the one observing. You're the one choosing. You're the one she can't figure out. And guess what happens next? Curiosity, tension, attraction. Because here's what nobody tells you. The less you react, the more she does. When you stop dancing around her moods, when you stop validating every post, every move, every little shift in tone, she starts noticing that you're not like other men. And that bothers her in a way that excites her because now she's not in control. Now she doesn't know what you feel. Now you are the mystery. And that's irresistible. A rare kind of man stays centered while the world and the woman tries to pull him off balance. He doesn't chase reassurance. He doesn't beg for answers. He doesn't try to control what's not his. He simply observes, moves when necessary, and walks away when it no longer aligns. That level of inner strength, rare, dangerous, hot. So if you're the kind of man who breaks down over one unread message, who stalks her social feed for clues, who gets emotionally rattled at every cold reply, understand this. You're not exciting her. You're exhausting her. But the man who doesn't flinch, the one who keeps building his life with or without her, that's the one she secretly can't stop thinking about. Because no woman wants to emotionally babysit a man. She wants to feel his power by how little he needs her reactions to define his worth. So be that man, the one who doesn't chase, the one who doesn't over-explain, the one who doesn't react. Because that silence, that stillness, that unshakable self-rust, that's what makes her lean in and ask, who is this man? And why can't I stop thinking about him? 6. Make her suggest it first. The trick. Here's a hard pill to swallow if you have to ask her for intimacy you've already lost. Because the moment you ask, you shift the dynamic from desire to negotiation. And nothing kills desire faster than making her feel like she's doing you a favor. Now, before you misunderstand, this isn't about being passive. It's about setting the stage so perfectly that she feels it was her idea all along. That's the trick. Because when a woman feels like she chose you, when she feels like she crossed the line, desire explodes. But when she feels pressured, cornered, or talked into it, she shuts down and the moment dies. Most men kill the mood with words like, when is something going to happen between us? I like you too much. I can't wait anymore. Wouldn't you like to spend the night with me? Those aren't seductive. They're suffocating. They leave no room for mystery, no tension, no space for her to feel pulled in. They turn intimacy into an obligation. Now, here's the truth most men don't hear. A woman gets turned on when she feels like she gave into something bigger than logic, not when she was convinced by a sales pitch. So how do you flip the script? You create the space. Not with words, but with energy, with presence, with emotional tension that doesn't ask, doesn't beg, doesn't need. You sit with her in silence, calm, composed, unfazed. Your eye contact is firm, your voice is slow, your body language relaxed but alert. You don't touch too soon, you don't rush, you don't ask, can I? You simply are. And the more comfortable you are with that tension, the more uncomfortable it becomes for her not to act. That's when she starts leaning in. That's when the body betrays her logic. That's when she says things like, are you always this calm with you? I feel different. I don't know why. You're dangerous. Translation, she feels it. And she's opening the door. Here's a scene that plays out more often than you'd believe. You're at her place. She's relaxed but watching you. You're not making a move. You're just present. Then it happens. She bites her lip, shifts closer, whispers, are you going to stay a little longer? Boom. That's the moment. That's what you created. Not by talking, but by being. She made the first move. Not because you asked, but because you pulled her into your gravity. That's power.